Hi, yes, I'm Shireen Taylor. I'm an artist and a freelance arts programmer. I've been working for the last couple of years on a project with Lydia Honeybone called Glasgow Artists Moving In Studios, which is based in Govanhill in Glasgow.
Hi, I'm Lydia Honeybone, and yeah, I'm a freelance arts and film programmer. We've chosen this because there's a particular building, there's the Govanhill Picture House, which we've just completed an options appraisal on, looking at how we sort of transform this site into that sort of community arts hub. That was the plan before COVID. Since COVID, we're sort of pivoting to an open air programme.
Yeah, so it took us a while to kind of rethink how we wanted to continue working on the project, but we were really lucky in that we had contacts through the Govanhill Community Development Trust, who actually really encouraged us to keep working and sort of rethinking the way we wanted to do things and to have events out of doors, which is particularly beneficial in places like Govanhill, where there's quite a big outdoor community. Communities gather out of doors quite regularly, and there's a lot of different languages spoken. So actually being visible on the street is really beneficial. Yeah, so I mean, because we already work with moving image and cinema, we already had some of the equipment that we needed, principally a projector. So we've got a theatre grade projector, which is quite powerful. And that's obviously one of the main things that you need. But we did also need the main thing we needed to do is find the relevant site. We had a few options, but we opted for Westmoreland Street Gardens, which is actually the site of another former cinema, and it's privately owned, so we didn't need to deal with any public permissions. So we were able to make use of that, and then we needed to bring in public addresses system and a power generator because we couldn't run any cables from any buildings. We needed to have rain cover, just in case, because it is Glasgow after all. So we had rain cover for the equipment and just for volunteers to shelter under. Luckily, we didn't need it. And then we had volunteers to help us with stewarding. We used Eventbrite for helping us with booking and track and trace. And we also just a lot of PPE equipment, masks, sanitizer, and we used tape to sort of create directions and distancing guidelines. So
I think the other sort of technicalities are things like getting the cinema the license to screen the film. That was from the BFI. The BFI have a huge archive of films that they have the license to and sort of administer. And if you need your own copy as well, they can send you a copy, but that's more expensive. If you have a DVD and a DVD player that you can hook up, which is what we did. That makes life a little bit easier. We also had to contact, or actually we got contacted by, so we now know that this is the right thing to do, is talk to environmental health, just so they know what you're doing. They're not out there. I think the words environmental health are really scary, and you're worried when you get a phone call from them. But they were actually incredibly helpful and just wanted the event to be a safe success. So I think just talking to people, I think the most important thing I would say is just get out there to the community that or the group. It doesn't need to be geographical, reach the group that you want to work with and get their input, and you'll find volunteers, you'll find helpful suggestions. So I think that's something that I would say is and we also ran a poster campaign in multiple languages. That was another way that we kind of, so I guess the other thing to consider is like who you're actually doing this for and with.
Technically, what you really need to keep an eye on is just making sure you've got a good enough projector. We've got a pretty decent theatre grade projector, but even that, we couldn't really see the image until like right at sunset. So setting up was difficult to do. So, I mean, certainly if you've just got a household projector, that's not going to work. So it's definitely worth doing the research, and you can get things called daylight projectors, which are really powerful. And making sure that you've got a good power supply. If you can run it from another building safely, that's excellent, because then you don't have issues around cost of hire or noise. If you do have to use a generator, try and get one of those silent ones. They're not actually silent, but they're certainly quieter. Yeah, think about just how the site's going to be laid out as well.
That's right. We did a lot of site visits
Yeah,
beforehand. Sort of, but we physically, and I don't know if this is necessary, but I kind of think it is. We physically measured the entire square meterage of the site and then divided that into blocks, and we only sold as many tickets as we could with a 2-meter distance.
Govanhill Community Development Trust, who were part of the sort of group. There's a sort of connection between them and the Baths Trust, but there's a specific project within that called Thriving Places that was headed up by a woman called Marjana Antionak, who helped us with the language translations, and it was basically just encouraging us to do the project.
For broader reference, Film Hub Scotland will fund film activity, so they might be a place to look for funding.
Oh, you were at the Independent Cinema office as well.
Cinema office, they're brilliant. They're just a free resource, and you get an email back on the same day, which is really quite amazing. I think making sure everyone's okay, not getting too cold, I think the challenge, I think, for Scotland is hitting the right time of year. I think spring, we're hopeful to kind of get some more screenings in outside, because it's that thing of these very short nights, so you don't have a lot of darkness to be projecting in. So I think that would be the main challenge for us. Yeah.
We had just such a really lovely response from the audience as they were leaving. Just people, I mean, particularly because of the current situation, and people were just so pleased to be able to be in a social space safely, just being able to gather, just to do something very simple and watch a film. But yeah, it made people very, very happy, and visibly so.